Welcome back, Mumphy Mafia. Hope you're all doing well. Today we are going to be adding some color to the Tacoma with some traction boards, specifically these Maxtrax. Let's get into this install. Now, to install a set of Maxtrax, you're obviously going to need a set, either 2 or 4. And if you go with 4, make sure that you get the mounting pin set that'll actually suit 2 or 4 Maxtrax. I have 2, so this will work just fine, and I can also add 2 more without having to change out my pins. Now, these are Maxtrax mounting pin sets, 40 millimeter, and they are rated for both 2 or 4 Maxtrax MK2s, which we have here. Now, the mounting solution that I have is with Outtro, and this is kind of a nice kit because it gives you several options. Obviously, it's going to give you your wing installation that's going to mount right here, so you can see that those are exactly wide enough for those, which is nice. You're also going to get an assortment of hardware. Now, these smaller bolt sets, you get 8 with a lock washer, a regular washer, and then these are also some track slides if you're doing a roof mount solution. Or they also have these larger bolt sets that'll fit in these little T-slots. The smaller hardware is going to fit in the smaller 4 holes that are punched out. That gives you some really good options. The other thing that Outtro gives you is this little key. I think this is an unlocking key for the Maxtrax pins, because that's what that looks like, so you can easily twist them. Now, for me, on the Saints Off-Road bed rack, I'm gonna have to kind of mishmash some of this in order to get these to work. So the extra hardware that I have is, this is a 4 millimeter Allen screw, which actually fits into the bolt heads. But if you go with the larger bolts, you'll need a 5 millimeter Allen. And then the other thing that I'm gonna need is I'm gonna need some 1/4-20 nylock nuts, so that way I can use them with this. All right, here we are at the Saints Off-Road bed rack, and I'm gonna take the up-top Overland kind of wing, and I'm gonna size where I'm gonna need it. Now, the nice thing is that there is a bunch of holes cut out here, so that way I have plenty of option to move this up and down. And looking at how these holes are cut, I'm gonna need to make sure that I have space here and here, because otherwise it's not necessarily gonna line up very well if I don't do that. So, as I line this up, it's looking like I'm gonna have to use the 4 center holes, because these 2 here line up much better. So I won't be using the larger bolts that came with it in order to mount this. And we're gonna go with the bolt side through the top of this, down through, and put the nut on the back side. So let's go ahead and get going on that. First things first, I'm gonna go ahead and take the Maxtrax pins and I am going to set them up. I already have this one done. It's gonna be a little easier for me to actually mount this with the Maxtrax pins in already. I've already made sure that the directions, or at least the pins, are set in the right direction. Now I'm just going to finish setting up this side. I've already got this on. It is a 17 millimeter bolt head on the back of the pins, but I highly suggest getting a deep socket. I actually don't, so I have to use a couple of crescent wrenches in order to fully seat the bolt in the mount. And those should be set. Now I can go ahead and mount this on the bed rack. Now, every bed rack is going to be a little different, so you may not have to follow these steps. You could probably, on some of these, make sure that you have everything, that you get the mount up there correctly first before you actually have to tie anything down. In my case, I need to do a little bit of change up on mine. So the thing I run into is that this top crossbar does hit, so that's why I had to put the pins, the Maxtrax pins in first before I could actually mount this up. Your bed rack may be different and you may not run into this issue. Just take that into consideration. So now I've got my pin up top, which is in this slot here. I'll have another one down here, so I'll have two diagonal. So I'm just putting the nut on the back side, just getting this started. I have my second one down here, and I'm just taking my nut and tightening that down in the back. Next up, I'm gonna go ahead and size this to see just exactly where I'm gonna need to kind of mount the front and where I can adjust it. All right, now I have both sides on. Obviously, I'm gonna need to tighten these down so that way I can get these spaced out properly. Let's go ahead and size this up again. Go ahead and put the backs on. Make sure that they line up with the front. Adjust that. Looks like that's going to be where they're going to sit. Looks like I can actually tighten these down, maybe. See if we can get our tool here. Those are on. Those are on. Nice. There we go. All right, now I can go ahead and tighten down the back. I believe that the pressure there is holding the nuts on the back side. And it is going to be a lot of taking these off, putting them back on, making sure that you have everything mounted correctly and lined up. But once you get it all set, everything will look good. I've already tightened these down here in the back, just so I know those aren't going to go anywhere. Well, Mafia, that's going to wrap it up for this install on the Maxtrax. I think it adds a nice little bit of added color to the Tacoma, and it's not necessarily a color that you'll lose if I ever need to use them. They will stand out for sure, kind of like the orange or the red. Be sure to leave your comments or questions down in the comments section below. This was a fun learning experience for me, trying to figure out where all that hardware was going to line up, so that way the mounting solution from up top was secure. I also like the fact that Maxtrax adds that hole for you to run a lock through for that little bit of added security, so you know people aren't just going to walk up, twist that, and walk off with a pretty expensive piece of equipment. Now, if you did watch my last video in which I swapped out my Roam cases, I did talk about maybe doing a giveaway, but that's going to depend on how fast we reach 5,000 subscribers. So be sure to let me know if you'd like a chance to win one of my 83-liter Gen 1 Roam cases. But let's get up to that 5,000 subscriber mark as fast as possible. Thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to smash the like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And if you haven't, be sure to jump over to mumphy.us/mods, where I keep a running list of all the mods that are on my Tacoma, if you are interested in picking up any of those. With that, I appreciate you guys sticking around, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.